Hi there, it's time to use the Wyckoff lens to look at Dogecoin to see where it is at and where it's going. This week it has confirmed it has entered the spring stage, which we did ask about that last week, so when we get to the charts we'll look at it in detail. If you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 things that I'll cover during the session. So let's start with the weekly chart. Here we're looking at the accumulation cycle, the orange text, if you're new to my session. So previously we were discussing, last week we were still above this white dashed line of about 15 cents. And I said there's still a chance for it to come lower to exhibit a spring. So if you look across, that's what happened back in July all the way to the end of August, where the selling climax was there, and eventually after a couple of weeks it went to an even lower level before the climb happened. This accumulation cycle started at a higher level and accumulated for longer compared to what we had back in 2024. Alright, that's the situation for Dogecoin. It's different from one altcoin to the other, so they're not exactly going through the same thing. So this is going on means that 100% it's happening. The question is where it's going to end. Alright, as of this moment, it's finding support at where the automatic rally was. So I just want to move this, duplicate, so we see where it is. So let me enlarge it, because if you're watching on a mobile device, it's not going to help with the previous scale. So as of now, this is where the price is currently staying. It's not a very strong support, I would say, because there's multiple candlesticks, and it's understandable the price will be trying to stay above this level. That's about 14 cents. But a stronger level would be somewhere near the selling climax, back in July 2024. That's around 10 cents. Hey, A-Leaf? Daily BTC. Interesting. I will take a look at my schedule, because I have, we all have real life families or other duties. So let me see whether I can arrange that, and also, how much can I cover? Because in the daily, if I change it to daily, we can still look at the weekly chart, but I have to adjust how I cover that. So thanks for raising it. Let's get back to Dogecoin as of this moment. There is another key level right there, around 10 cents 50. Okay, I haven't drawn these lines within the long-term playground zone, but this line is basically the center line. I would say close to the center line where it should be. Okay, at least from the point of 2021 till now. I know Dogecoin started way back, but most of the activities, or these high volume activities, started somewhere near 2021. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, so here, if you look at it, if the trend continues, when we get to the daily, we'll see the air hockey table, or the trend channel. This is potentially where the spring would end up, somewhere close to what we have in 2024. If the volume continues without stopping. Only when the volume comes down, you see we're still kind of at a similar level over the past 4 weeks. If it dies down to a level, at least around the 60 million or lower range, look at what happened back in September over here. That's where it bottoms out. The volume over there, compared to the rest, you see the volume actually get to a very low point when that accumulation nears its end. That's what we want to see. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now, when we get to the daily with this air hockey table, that's how I call it, because if you're new to this, the reason I call this is one, you can easily relate. Basically, the puck is bouncing off between the edges. Okay, just that we've got a center line that the puck would also bounce from that point some of the times. All right, so you can call that a channel box, or you can call that an air hockey table, so you can visualize why we have this box. Okay, it's not like randomly drawn for no reason. So this, you see the ceiling has been rejecting all the way over the past week. Last session I did mention there are a couple of triangles. Those are breakout opportunities, but every single one got rejected. Okay, all these, it traded sideways, and then the confirmation came yesterday. We're not heading outside of the channel. We're still continuing towards the south side. I would say relatively good thing is that we're still trading on the stronger side of the channel. Okay, if it drops to the lower side, we have to wait for a little longer before it breaks outside of the channel. Okay, that's the positive during this downtrend. Okay, so it's not everything that's so bad. Okay, if this is heading towards the spring, hopefully it's going to flatten out, and I hope to see it going sideways soon. But like I said, in the weekly chart, we have to look at what happened just last year. I'm not talking about like 4, 5, or 3, 4 years ago, like 2002, 2003, that hibernation period. Just last year, 2004, the institutions, whales or compass men, they all know what's going to happen in the coming quarters in 2025, whether it's interest rate or QT going or not. They kind of have models to calculate all those, so they know what's going to happen. So we can get to that point last year. That means it's no surprise we can get to the same point this year. So here's the thing, the very first stop already reached. So last week we talked about these 3 yellow lines. The 13-cent line, basically yesterday has already tested that line. Okay, it found a little bit of support, much like what happened over here, on the 19th, just 4 days back. It's the same. Initially, it was alright, and then after a few days, when the sideways trading reached these resistance line, the top edge, the ceiling of the channel, that's where the decision comes. Okay, so we are a few days from that, or roughly a week. This is pointing towards the end of the month, around 30th or 1st of December. I mentioned many times, the movements doesn't wait till this tips, so it's likely going to happen within a week. We have that decision point again. So is it going to confirm for a deeper spring, which I already explained in the weekly chart, the reason why this blue key level of 0.0, almost 10 cents. Okay, let's treat it as 10 cents. This is the level we are looking at. All right, for more solid support, it can end up a little bit higher or lower. It doesn't matter. It's around the 10-cent range. Okay, so very quickly we'll know. And in other altcoins, I did ask a question because they all exhibit a similar pattern. If you have been following me, if you remember the daily charts, the October 10th event, it looks the same across many altcoins. After this long red candle, we all know that day they all look like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking what's happening after. This range of activities, I have this question mark over here across multiple. So other than Uniswap, most of the others after the horizontal trading, they continue to go down. So that's why I put in a question mark. October 10th or 11th, which closed a little bit lower than the 10th, may not be the actual selling climax. It's probably only the preliminary support stage. The selling climax actually comes later. And then this may where the automatic rally was, around November 10th. And now we're heading to subsequent tests, or we can call that the spring. Usually we have the second test after it, which if I turn it to a line chart, you see it came down for a test and then went up a little and now diving further down. Okay, we can have multiple tests, and then depending on whether it's the very last bit of the dip, then we call that a spring, or you can just simply call that another test, because you have to understand Wyckoff. Even though we have these different names to differentiate the stage of the period, it basically means a test of demand, or how panicked people are, how much people are still willing to sell, or how many people are willing to buy, irrespective of the name of the stage. Okay, the fundamental meaning of these tags is that they are all tests. So back to here, we can now call that a spring, but I'm still keeping it over here. So and I already said more tests is expected, so it's even more than 45. It's 65 over here, meaning there can be a lot more, if not diving down to the level we talked about in the very beginning. Before we see a sign of strength. So this is what we hope to see, even though the chance is lower than the horizontal trading. Look at what happened in July and September. Okay, when the price comes back to trade somewhere around this 27 cents level to the 30 cents orange key level, that's the sign of potentially re-entering or getting close to re-entering another distribution cycle. I know these levels are quite high compared to the peak we have over here for Dogecoin at around 47 cents. It's way different from the peak in 2021. So one thing I share across multiple altcoins like Bitcoin Cash and a couple of others, that we are seeing some declining peak situation. So from buying climax or upthrust to the next high of distribution, or the next top of distribution, we are seeing these kind of declining trend, and that's not a good sign, because if a project is continuing to have the same amount of attention and capital injection during the speculative period, they should go back to a similar level. But obviously you can question that they may still be, just that it's their market cap reached the same level, not the price. So you have to observe if your project, or if the project you are supporting, whether the market cap reached the same height as the previous distribution cycle peak. If it is, then it's still a better sign than both the price and the market cap does not retain the similar level. That means even if you get in from the very bottom, when the price gets to the top, let me switch back to the chart view so it's easier. So even if you get in around the bottom, okay, assuming you wait for 2 years for the price to climb, if it is a declining peak, that means your return will get lower and lower, right? Because the price doesn't really change. I mean, from that absolute scale point of view. So if we get in from, say, 6 cents, all right, and waited for 2 years till the end of this December last year, and whether it's the stop loss forced us to take profit or you actively sold, that is from 6 cents to the peak, let's say 47 cents. That's a 680%, right? However, if it is a declining climax or top situation, if we wait another 2 years till 2027, assuming it ended up here, okay, around 40 cents, from assuming we're getting to the 6 cents again, just hypothetical, to that point, from the previous 680%, the return declined to 550%, so 130% difference. So that's the thing that I have been sharing that I'm worried about, especially if you see this kind of scenario happening in your project. I have a feeling why this is happening, because a lot of people talk about the regulation has been more friendly, and crypto or the crypto projects have been more widely accepted. While this sounds positive to the industry, so be careful. It's positive for the industry, not meaning just for a particular project, because it also means when there is a friendly environment, it also means it's more favorable for new alternatives to come up. People with the money that hesitated to invest in this tech because of all the regulatory headwinds and all the other issues, once it's now gone, they have the choice to whether to start it themselves or they buy into the incumbents. So it's a two-edged sword, in my view, to the existing projects. So that's why we continue to see new projects coming out, right? Even last year, this year. That's the thing that I would like to share with you and advise you to observe what's going on. Even the total market cap has gone to over 4 trillion. With the number of increased projects, if we go buy ice cream or whatever food we sprinkle candies or whatever on top, it's just the same. So there are more options, and the people, even the pool has grown by 30% from 3 trillion to 4 trillion. If there are more cups of ice creams, whatever got sprinkled on, it's getting less piece of share. So that's the thing that I'm seeing that may be happening. So obviously, if your project is strong and get heavy adoption, especially with big brands or chains that has gigantic business already, those can get a bigger share of the sprinkle. But for the others, it's really going to be a challenge for the coming years, because if this is the time where if this is the last winter for crypto, then with the adoption that's coming, it's going to separate the winners from the losers. Okay, so it's going to be very critical going through this period. All right, so a very long Dogecoin session.